The idea that we can lose our salvation, it plagues a lot of Christians. And perhaps there are no other passages other than Hebrews 6 and 10 that inspire and motivate this erroneous teaching. You know, Hebrews 6, it talks about how we can taste the gospel. And then it says if you've tasted it, if you've sampled it, and then walk away from it, well, there's no other place to go. You know, have you ever been in the grocery store and they give you that taste tester? They put it on a toothpick and they offer it to you, and you sample it, but then maybe you don't invest in the meal. Well, that's exactly what Hebrews 6 is talking about. 2,000 years ago, there was a Jewish audience that was sampling the gospel. They were hearing and not believing. They were hearing the best samples of the gospel that God had to offer through the voices of the apostles themselves right there in Jerusalem. And yet, when they tasted that gospel message and then didn't go to the freezer to invest in the full meal, well, that created a problem. Instead, they went back. They went back to the temple for more animal sacrifices. And that's why the author of Hebrews says, in that instance, there was no sacrifice left, only a fearful expectation of judgment. That's the only thing left for someone who rejects the gospel. So that unforgivable sin, the one sin that God doesn't forgive, what is it? Well, it's that very thing. It's rejecting the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. After all, if the greatest sacrifice that could possibly be made on your behalf is offered to you and you say, no way, no thanks, I'm fine over here, well, of course, you're going to reap the consequences of that. So Hebrews 6 is not about a Christian who loses their salvation. In context, it's really about a Jewish person who flirted with the gospel, but ultimately rejected it. Now in Hebrews chapter 10, we see that it says if we keep on sinning after receiving the knowledge of the truth. So some people drum up the crazy idea that if we keep on stealing hubcaps, if we keep on lying, if we keep on cheating, if we keep on struggling, if we keep on having temptation get the best of us after we're saved, then, well, we're out of luck. But you know what? There's a context there too in Hebrews 10. You know the only type of sinning mentioned for 10 chapters in Hebrews? It's the sin of unbelief. Yeah, Hebrews is a pretty peculiar epistle in that regard, because other epistles, they're talking about sins of stealing and lying and cheating and fornication, adultery, all kinds of outward and obvious sins. But the book of Hebrews, for 10 chapters, deals with one sin, the sin of unbelief. And so in context, the passage in Hebrews 10, beginning in verse 26, it actually is saying to us, if we keep on in unbelief, if we keep on unbelieving after receiving the knowledge of the truth, after all, what do you do with the knowledge of the truth? You either accept it or reject it. But if we keep on rejecting after receiving a knowledge of the truth, there's no sacrifice left for us. Instead, there's that fearful expectation of judgment. So are we talking about a Christian who has lost their salvation? No, we're talking about someone who has received the knowledge of the truth, yet they go on willfully rejecting, not believing in the gospel message. So rest assured, there's a simple explanation to these two passages that have troubled Christians for decades, even centuries. Let's not live in fear. Let's see that the truth always sets us free. And when it comes to your salvation, He truly will never, ever leave you or forsake you.